What's going on, everyone? So Paul George dove into kind of the contract negotiations with the Clippers and kind of broke down and went over how the whole process went that led to him going to the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I don't want to ruin that video, so go check out that video after this video if you haven't seen it. But I do want to talk about some points that he made and just the silliness of the Los Angeles Clippers. So first off, the contract negotiations started with him 2 years, 60 million. So they wanted to pay him 30 million a year. And then he said that basically they went in small increments until they got to the point where, he was like, all right, clearly we're not going to find common ground. I'm out. Clearly you guys don't value me. Clearly you don't see me on this team the way that I see me on this team. He even talked about, the Kawhi Leonard contract, and he was just like, hey, give me the same contract as Kawhi Leonard, and we're good, right? You don't have to do anything crazy. Just give me the exact same contract. I'll stick around. And they refused to do it. They didn't want to do it. And Paul George wanted a no-trade clause because, like he said, I don't want to take less money, or I don't want to be in a situation to where, something happens and now they're just shipping me off wherever they want to ship me off. He said that, he talked to Steve Ballmer, and Steve Ballmer was like, look, I'm not planning on signing you. And he had high praise about Steve Ballmer, but said, I'm not going to just take anyone's word for it because he's been in the league long enough, right? He's seen the situation, like DeMar DeRozan and the owner and the GM swear up and down that they're not going to trade him and he's going to be a Raptor forever. And what ends up happening? Literally like 3 days later, he's shipped out for Kawhi Leonard, but still, it's like Paul George understands that this is a business at the end of the day. And look, the Clippers, the reason this is so foolish is like, what are your other options? If you had a way to replace him, then fine, but you don't. And you have this new arena that you're trying to put butts in seats. You're trying to get over the hump and get to an NBA championship. And you get rid of your healthiest guy? I mean, as far as the stars go. And look, Paul George hasn't been a model of health, but he's been healthier and more impactful than Kawhi has been. He's played more games. He's been in the playoffs more. Like, Kawhi's the guy that, if they were going to let anybody go, it's Kawhi Leonard. I understand that when Kawhi is healthy and he's playing, he's still an unmatched talent in a lot of ways. But the best ability is availability. Right? And Paul George was better and as far as being available than anyone else was. And you went and got James Harden, and and the idea was that, okay, now you're gonna have this run, get another full season under your belt, with James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and you had this like great success. You had your struggles early on, but then eventually you ended up having this great success. You looked at points like the best team in the league, and it was like, oh, maybe the Clippers are really back. And it's like, you go another year, if you can maintain health, you get into the playoffs, guys are healthy come playoffs, you might actually have a chance here. And I understand, it's like you lost in the first round and all that stuff, but it's like, what's your other option? Look, and I thought that they got some nice pieces and stuff to kind of complement James Harden and Kawhi, but they're not replacing Paul George. They're not better without Paul George, right? Like, Paul George is one of the best two-ways in the league still. And it's just, these are the kind of things that put the Clippers in the situation where they get looked at as little brother, and the disrespect that, a lot of Clipper fans say, oh, well, the Clippers just get so much disrespect, and it's because of decisions like this. Again, if you had a solid plan B, and you actually had something to where it potentially could make you better or at least on par, then fine. But the Clippers are not better without Paul George, right? And now you're trusting Kawhi Leonard, one, to be healthy, and you're trusting James Harden, who's not the same player he once was, and is notorious, even at his peak, for just completely disappearing in the playoffs, right? Like, he's known to just, like, playoffs are here, James Harden's somewhere else mentally, right? Like, he's not the same guy come playoff time. And now you're counting on two guys that aren't accountable, that you need to basically give you a shot. At least with Paul George, even if you never won a championship, it gave you the best puncher's chance. And it gave you the best opportunity, especially going into a new arena where you're trying to sell tickets and you're trying to, and look, you're going to have the opening allure out the gate, right? Like the Clippers could be terrible. Like they could be the worst team in the league and open a new arena. First year or two, they're going to be packed, right? They're going to be jam-packed. They're going to be all this stuff, right? But still, it's like eventually that wears off. Eventually, the new shiny toy people get sick of, and it's like, what are you producing? What's the talent you're producing? And we saw, like, the one time Kawhi and Paul George were, like, healthy, they were in the conference finals. And, I mean, even the bubble year, they should have been in the conference final, but lost a 3-1 lead. So, and again, the right matchup, the right situation, Paul George gave them the best chance. Right? Like, are the Clippers winning a championship now with Kawhi and James Harden? No. All right, unless James Harden finally decides to wake up and Kawhi turns into Superman again and becomes incredibly healthy, but more likely than not, they're not a better team, and they already had questions at times. Are they a play-in team now? Right? It's just like there's so many unknowns. And look, I think that they have potential to still be very good, right? And, maybe they get to the second round of the conference finals or something like that. You never know. I don't want to completely rule it out, but are they one of the top 3 to 5 teams in the league now? No. Were they one of the 3 to 5 top teams in the league with Paul George? I mean, on paper, you can maybe argue it, but seeing the product, probably not. But they were still better than they are now. And they still might have been a top, 4 to 5 team in the West with Paul George. And that would have given you at least an opportunity to put yourself in a position to maybe go win a championship or at least get to the finals or something. And it's like, man, if you can kind of catch that lightning in a bottle and just go on one solid run. But now you're relying, again, on 2 guys. One guy who can't play in the playoffs because he's never available. He's never healthy come playoff time. And people, he was healthy during the regular season. Yeah, I don't care about your health in the regular season. I care about your health when we need you the most. I mean, I'm not a Clipper fan, but in general, like, it's like, again, the best ability is availability. Me being a Laker fan, right? LeBron and AD could play 82 games all season. But if you don't show up in the playoffs, then who cares? Right? Like, if you're always hurt come playoff time, then who cares? Right? So it's what can you do when it matters the most? Right? So that's the thing. Kawhi Leonard can't stay healthy, and James Harden just disappears. So now you're reliant on those 2 guys where Paul George, yes, he has his questions at times in the playoffs, but he also has that game almost every playoff series where he just single-handedly wins by himself. And he also is not supposed to be the number 1 option. It's supposed to be Kawhi Leonard, who you paid and gave a contract to. Like, it's foolishness in my opinion. Right? I mean, look, Paul George going to Philly, I think he has a realistic chance of at least making it to the finals. I think Philly is shaping up to be the second, maybe third best team in the East. I think Celtics are still the Celtics. I think that they're still insanely stacked. And then the Knicks, I think, did a really good job rounding out their roster. But I think Philly's right there. I don't really trust the Bucks. Maybe, Giannis and Dame figure it out a little better, but they're still old. There's still so many questions with them. I don't buy it. You always have a chance because you have Dame and Giannis, but I'm not like super sold on them. Cavs aren't doing anything. The Pacers, I don't think that they're there yet. I think there's still probably another year or so of like just building Halliburton, kind of continuing to take steps and strides. Right? Like, I just don't see anybody outside of like Philly, the Knicks, and the Celtics. So now Paul George is basically one of 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. And now he gets to be the third guy rather than being the guy. And I don't know what the Clippers' thought process was here. I mean, Paul George was willing to take. I mean, if based on what he was saying, he was willing to take a discount. He just wanted it to be reasonable, right? And it's like, and more than anything, he wanted that no trade clause because he didn't want to take a significant discount and then they end up shipping him out, right? And which I don't blame him, right? It's like, because that as soon as things start going south, that's what's going to happen. So it's like he just wanted the same thing Kawhi got. And it looks like he felt like, okay, you clearly don't value me the way that you value Kawhi, so I'll go elsewhere. And he should have. But it's foolishness, in my opinion, on behalf of the Clippers. Because, again, what was your alternative? What's your alternative? And you're not an organization that's struggling for money. You just opened up a new arena. You're trying to give yourself the best chance to maybe potentially win a championship or at least stumble into the finals for the first time. And you did the opposite. It's foolishness to me. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Do you feel the same way? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think Clippers are a joke for this? Do you think, no, like, hey, this was the best decision? Look, if they blew it up entirely, like if they were like, hey, we're not re-signing Kawhi, or we're going to trade Kawhi or whatever, so we don't really want to give you a bunch of money because we're probably going to blow it up, then fine. I'd be like, okay, cool. But you have no picks, no future. You would have been, capped. It's just, I don't understand the logic. Like, what's the thinking here? What's your alternative? Right? Like, it's silliness, right? And look, just because Paul George has a no trade clause doesn't mean you can't trade him. It's just so that way he doesn't get shipped to like Detroit or something. If you're going to tear it down and you're going to trade Kawhi and James Harden and everybody, right? Well, then you're better off getting something. You literally got nothing for Paul George. Nothing. You gave up a farm and you gave up arguably a top 5 player to go get Paul George, and you got nothing. You got one conference finals appearance. The Lakers, in their worst season of their history, made the conference finals. Like, literally, they started 2-10 on the year. They had a 0.02% chance of making the playoffs. Not even the conference, like just making the playoffs. And they made the conference finals. And what is looked at as the worst year in Lakers history, they made the conference finals. The Clippers' best season in the franchise history made the conference fight. It just shows that there's different levels. But anyway, again, how you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.